look at the N1 highway. I saw a lady cross the road with a baby at her back and holding the hand of a younger one. Interestingly, she was closer to a footbridge. The attitude and stubbornness of some pedestrians must also not be overlooked. The civic education on the usage of the road should be reactivated. You are right about that. But I must inform you that even the engineers and the board responsible for our roads have said that the manner of this particular stretch we are talking about, the manner it is now, it does not allow for compliance of road safety. So they have seen that, yeah, they have said so. Wow. They have told the municipal assembly that this is the situation and that in the meantime, do the markings that you read out here and do the very little things that ought to be done. And it doesn't appear that anything has happened until the interministerial, joint ministerial, effort. Kweku and Chibwe Siako says that, Mr. Afenyo Marking, did all those competing priorities suddenly vanish between Thursday night and Friday? I'm sorry, but your response is a complete turn-off. Okay, let me take some of your messages here. Akwesi Obeng in Ajusu Bisasi says, we are appealing to the government to fix the footbridges. We should also tell the drivers that ply the road to follow road traffic regulations to avoid further calamity. Ibrahim Kopa in Tamale says, it is unfortunate that Felix is resorting to unnecessary trivialities and partisanship on this issue of national concern. Achu Enyam in Ho says that Ho West says it's now clear that the poor innocent citizens of this country are not safe in the hands of politicians. Musa Abatar in Kumasi says the leadership we have today is self-centered. Their priority is to buy 36 air conditions for 2-bedroom apartments. Ghanaians have to suffer for their ineptitude. Ghana deserves better. Sofo Yamusa in Kumbungu says that the rate at which people die on our roads is unacceptable and must stop. To end this menace, it must be the collective responsibility of all, including the citizenry. From Eli Vava Gavi, he says, all lives matter. Government must start paying attention to the roads, especially the Tema motorway. It has huge manholes and no street lights. Thank you for that. So I take your 2 minutes concluding comments each. Okay, I started with you, Felix. So, sure. 2 minutes.
I think there are a number of issues that need to be responded to. See, Mr. Baku's default position is that blame on this matter must be shared. And his only reason is that the NDC could not finish the project before it left office. And so essentially, we are stopped from holding President Akufo-Addo exclusively responsible. I started my submission by saying that the day he swore the oath of the office of the president and became president of Ghana, he took responsibility for any and every project that was taking place under his auspices as president. Again, the only reason that would account for a lag between the time that the footbridges were fixed and the time we exited would have definitely been a dearth of funds, because the project, even if it was donor funded, would have a certain amount dedicated to it. Variations and changes in design along the line can escalate the cost, which then makes your initial projections inadequate to complete it. Before we left office, that's why I went through the numbers. I showed you that this government has had opportunity because of the amount of money it has been given under the road fund dedicated to fixing roads in this country. They have decided that they will take large chunks of that money and spend it on consumption outside of the remits of the road fund.
Can I tell you what people feel about what you guys are doing in paying attention to the politics of who should take harm?
No, you see, something. You see, it is not, you see, when a government is held responsible, it's not the same as doing politics. You understand me? Otherwise, the people of Adenta would not have demonstrated if it was not the duty of somebody to do that thing.
Okay.
So when you take up the reins of government, you must take responsibility for problems and fix them. But you cannot come and tell people that after they have queued for you and voted for you on the day of elections and made you president, they should go and ask the person they voted out why he has not done the project. Whilst for 2 years, you have had sufficient resources to fix it and you have refused or failed to do so.
Okay.
So President Akufo-Addo will not have a China wall built between him and the people of Ghana in terms of taking responsibility for this. 2 years, and we are not criticizing him in the first month of his government.
Let me remind you again that there are potentially 24 families who have lost their relatives who are listening to us now. There are potentially 164 families who have had their relatives suffer injuries on this road who are listening to us this morning. They are not in the least excited about this.
But something, that is a problem with our country.
No,
you see, there's a distinction between holding government responsible and being partisan. When we were in power and we had the energy crisis, who says that it was President Obama who switched off the switches and so we didn't have light? He had to take responsibility because it was under his watch that it happened. Everybody blamed him. You have said that you joined Occupy Ghana to insist that that problem be solved. There were people who had died who would not have been enthused by partisanship other than getting the problem fixed. But President Obama endured the criticism. When we came to power and the affordable housing project was not completed within a certain time, were we not held responsible, even though we could have argued that President Akufo could not complete it. So let President Akufo accept responsibility for once and stop sharing it. Otherwise, there was no basis for him to have mounted the platform and asked that authority be given to him to run this country.
Yes, Clara, Manche Bruce, the second in Takrady says, the politicization of the Madina-Adenta issue is infantile, to say the least. Thank God for Kekubako. Okay, let's listen to you.
Okay. Now, for me, just 3 things. I think, like I said earlier on, we have heard enough of who didn't do what and who did what. We just want the footbridges fixed. In fact, it's not just the footbridges. The road is not complete. That's what it is. From the report that Kweku just read, the road is not complete.
Well, this technical, again, I'm only learning this recent times. The road per se, complete per se.
But the ones
they handed over the road July 2018.
Yes.
I see there are accessories.
Exactly.
That's I'm sure it's not a technical.
But it's part of the road.
I agree. I was just trying to get the final.
The accessories are part of the part of the road, so they have to be fixed. And we are not saying that that is the only problem, but it's the major problem. Fixing the footbridges as well as all the accessories to making the road safe. Because the truth is, I don't think our main concern is infrastructure per se. Our main concern is infrastructure because of what it can do for our people. So the most important resource that we concentrate on is the people. Anything that endangers life has to be a very serious issue. In this case, by not concluding all of those other accessories to the road, we are endangering life. So it should be very important to us. So really, I think the most important thing is 1, complete the road. Put all the accessories to, make sure that all the accessories are provided for. And then 2, education. We know that there are issues when it comes to road use and all of that. We can't keep talking about it. So we have to educate the people and then enforce the laws. And then I think that is it. We should get to the point where we just don't talk about our problems and throw blames around as to who didn't do what, but that when we identify a problem, the reason for leadership is to provide solutions. Right. You are either providing the solutions or inspiring your people to provide solutions. So this is the problem we have. Let's just solve the problem. And then the people, at least, the people are not asking for too much.
Okay. Thank you. Kweku, as I was saying, the board of the Ghana Highway Authority have actually simply been telling the municipal assembly or the authority there that there are very minor things you can do. And major among them is that you create pedestrian, ways through the median at selected points and in between some of the stretches. And then they mark those points and then fix traffic lights at those points. This is the major solution to the problem. You need between 4 to 6, maximum 6 police officers to take care of, avoid what we have seen.
If it's coming from technical people, experts, who am I to dispute? I fall in line because I really don't understand these things.
Right.
But you see, the point that came up about roads completed and not completed, I get the drift of Madam Clara very well. But this document that I was talking about, if you go to page 49, that's September 2014, outstanding works. You see, the main outstanding works on the project are as tabulated below. Description of work is planting of grass, shrubs, etc. in the broader medians. Remarks, works have not yet commenced, but approval has already been given by the client for implementation. 2, casting of concrete in narrow medians. Works have not yet commenced, but approval has already been given by the client for implementation. Road line markings. I don't know if it's some of the things you are talking about.
Right.
Works have not yet completed, but have not yet commenced, but approval has already been given by the client for implementation. Road signs. Works have not yet commenced, but approval has already been given by the client for implementation. However, the contractor in course of construction provided some temporary signs, but they could not stand the test of time. Traffic lights, only metal posts are currently in position. Street lights, works have commenced and 23 solar lights installed at 6 different locations. Then almighty footbridges. Footbridges, works have reached appreciable stage on the 6 footbridges. The main elements outstanding on all the footbridges are the approaches, landings, and guide rails. The outstanding works can be aggregated at 25%. Now, I was not from start talking about shared responsibility. That was occasioned by the selective analysis my brother made. That's all. And I'll put it in context that if this outstanding works, and especially the footbridges, which is the focus of the discussion, or what triggered all this, I was saying that within 2 years or 1.5 years, it could still have been done by the previous administration. I was not going out to blame the previous administration.
Okay.
I was not doing that, but it was his input that brought about that, you know, to address the matter.
So let's hear.
They need, no, let me.
You
see, they need, and don't forget, but don't forget, we also began by putting it within the context of the Gang of 4.
No, but that which also material in terms of
no, it is material because you see the point that was being made.
On that, let me make a certain point. On that, I sat at the Ministry of Information, where on many occasions, successive ministers of roads came to meet the press and classify those roads as Gang of 4. In fact, at a point, they even added NY.
Okay, it's okay.
To make it Gang of
progress.
6. And then another road. So for me, it's a minor point.
It is not a question of minor or major. It's a question of always being precise.
It's a matter of
precision and accuracy. Thank you. And sometimes you think what is happening is so remote from you, right? I don't have his permission to mention him, but somebody all of us will call a friend who is a formidable voice within the matters of democratic governance in this country, with a formidable institution, just sent me a message. He said, my uncle was knocked down at that junction. Who is responsible for the traffic management on a daily basis? Even if the road and footbridges are done, who will manage the road use? Check who it is. Yes, Afenyo, let's hear you.
Right.
Yeah.
Council, point is, the NDC through Felix, continuously create the impression that there is money there, government has failed to get its priorities right. Unfortunately, they've been exposed.
How?
To the extent that they themselves, when they had the opportunity, one situation in 2015, they blamed it on the IMF bailout, that because of that they didn't have enough money. And if you read on the 2nd of October 2015, Joy FM website, yes, it is there. Joy FM report.
Everyone stands completed.
Please
don't intervene.
No. I'm just making a point to you.
Yeah.
Of course, we are in government, we take responsibility. But the impression must not be also created that the footbridges will be completed in a day. I'm happy you pointed out the duration. It will take a while. If work commences, it's not going to be a one-day thing. So what can we do as citizens? Drivers and pedestrians. Drivers must ensure that they don't overspeed on that stretch. Citizens must ensure, pedestrians must ensure that when they are crossing, they also at least observe some patience. Make sure that they don't just cross, look at the oncoming vehicle. And our police would have to assist in this, because the street lights that have been fixed would only help in visibility, but will not be sufficient. Until the footbridges are fixed, completed, commissioned, we would have to still endure with the situation. So I think the police, the municipality, those who are engaged in road safety must assist. Pedestrians must cooperate. Road users must cooperate. Drivers in particular, because in all of these, it appears, of course, as government responsibility. So no mention of the driver who was overspeeding and all that. But I think we have to also be very fair in pointing this out, that drivers who get to that part of the road driving must not overspeed. And I think that that in a way would also help to minimize the unfortunate incident. It's sad. People dying and all that. And these are all caused by citizens. And are we saying that because we don't have the footbridges, you should overspeed and be killing? And I'm not making this submission in respect of only the Adenta. Right. Those using the N1 as well. Those using the motorway as well. Because some works are being done on the roundabout. And you see the way Felix was quick to say that they secured funding. Once again, exposing the overly partisan approach they would want to adopt in all situations.
Thank you. Yes, Kuku.
It's unrelated. Yes, Kuku. Yes. But apparently, there are some 3 bridges, I'm told, up north, needing urgent attention. And the decision to award the contract is over a year old and still pending at the ministry.
We'll wait for someone to
die. One day, one of the bridges may collapse.
Someone to die, and perhaps if the person who died is not prominent, we may not pay attention. But if they die and the citizens rise like they did in Adenta and Madina, maybe there will be some attention. You may not like it, but it does appear, like people have said over and again, political leadership has to be careful. Otherwise, there will be a rising up that they may not be able to contain. YK Ansayeboa says, listening to Afenyoma King on Newsfile and shaking my head. KNUST board had, is that the KNUST board had competing issues to address too, but sacked. Stop the hypocrisy. Then
I think that person is being unfair to me.
Dr. Atuedu.
That person is being very unfair Atuedu and is not listening to me well. And the point I'm making.
In Evans, Georgia, says, why 2 powerful reggae songs filled with words of liberation in your interlude? I'll ask my producers. Is Ghana under siege? Otherwise, those deaths were senseless and the government must act swiftly. The government has announced swift decisions. Let's see the results it produces. And like Oku just said, it may be good to urge caution on those who want to continue a demonstration. They may still go on, but since there's a roadmap, they may want to watch, and if the roadmap is not followed, then they will have a legitimate question.
But what if they don't trust the roadmap at all?
If they don't trust it. Okay, so let's get it. We go for our next break. When we return, we'll be asking questions about the number 12 and also the problems or matters arising from the creation of new regions. We'll be right back.